The world has long feared the Keeper of Corpses. Ezril, marked by a 9-pointed star, walks between life and death, serving only Orwyn's command. Now the journey back to Fortuna begins, but the ground is no longer theirs. High above the earth, the Falcon carries them through endless skies, a realm of weightless uncertainty. Yet in the heavens, mysteries stir, loyalties are tested, and the path forward is shaped by the one who carries the dead. Step into the next chapter of Grandmaster Arcanist.
Welcome back to the Frith Guild podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host Scott.
And today we're going over chapters 16 through 20 of Grandmaster Arcanist. Before we get into today's episode, we also want to remind everybody about the Dragon Con nomination coming up July 19th. So we have just under a month left to go. So let's get Shammy to that W. In addition, if you were not aware, if you were sleeping under a rock for some reason, Crown Tournament 3 releases tomorrow on the Kindle, and I am so excited to be able to get this last book of the Crown Tournament series.
We got a lot to go. We got a lot of good fights coming up.
Oh yeah, and it gives us like a little bit of a station, that sating of the palette to get us through until the last of the Academy series gets released. So with that, we will get into chapter 16, Gathering a Team. I feel like they're forming the Avengers right now.
It feels like it. It really does.
Volk, as he's leaving the inn, he feels a very odd vibration. He doesn't recognize anybody that vibration came from, and he goes up and investigates, and Q, Keeper of Corpses, Ezril. Ezril has an allegiance to Orwyn and not to the Autarch, so we do like this because he's going to follow Orwyn. As long as Orwyn is on our team, so is he and Egha. And I think with Ezreal's character, it literally all came down to Orwyn being so socially awkward that she didn't know that he had those disabilities, or he struggled with making friends and socializing and all of that stuff, that she just didn't make fun of him, and he was happy.
Yeah, she was so far removed that she didn't do the socially acceptable thing, in quotes, to make fun of him, and he was like, "Oh, you're a friend, yay!" And
I mean, fair enough for the kid. Probably has never been able to talk to anybody in a legitimate conversation, so I can completely understand his character and why he's got such devotion to Orwyn. Definitely is a very sore subject with his disabilities. He does seem like any kind of compassion would have swayed him, and I am very glad at this moment that Zaxxas is not present.
But
I know
a little laugh.
He would have laughed. I mean, I know back on Isle of Ruma, he never made fun of Ilya and her eye missing, an eye patch, that kind of thing. I think Zaxxas wouldn't have cared. He would have just said whatever he was going to say.
Yes, it was. I think he has a little less of a filter, which is crazy to say, but he has more power and less of a filter, and more Nicholin backing him up.
Nicholin is his hype man.
He really is.
Unfortunately, Volk has to go and kind of crash the party, and sobers everybody up when Zaxxas demands to know about what is going on with Liette, and Zaxxas is going to have to level kind of everything to them. One thing that really shocks me is that Zaxxas didn't challenge Volk for leadership of the guild. Like, I hate to say he just kind of rolls over and accepts that Volk is the leader now, but kind of isn't his true nature.
It is strange, but it also is one of those things where, like, it pretty much admits that he's, like, jealous of Volk and looks up to Volk. So Volk's probably the one person who could take it, and he wouldn't get super sassy in public. He understands that Volk is probably the right choice for this, I would assume.
Right. Now, this is where our planning is starting to take place. We need to figure out who's going where, and Volk is saying that we're going to definitely bring Orwyn, and we know that Zaxxas is absolutely against that. And his justification was, well, Orwyn tried to kill us. And Volk's like, well, we're bringing Linus too. And he tried to kill us too. And Ilya out of nowhere, he took my eye. And Volk wants to hit back with the, like, you had your chance to kill him, but you chose not to. And she's like, no, I'm just joking. I'm sorry. I'm over it.
I got my quip in. I'm good.
Right. Now, we weren't sure. Nicholas is trying to figure out what word to call this, and they land on Pantheon, and it honestly just clicked with me that the word Pantheon is used more broadly than just like talking about Greeks, and it's talking about a collection of gods, and I would assume one mythology or another. Having listened to The Fox and the Falcon by C.J. Piper, I believe the author's name is, and she mentions Pantheon after Pantheon, and I'm like, it never clicked with me until so.
It makes sense.
That's what that means.
We get into chapter 17, interrogating Rhys. So they go down to interrogate Rhys. Zaxxas, his jealousy issue is starting to come out with Volk. You can tell he's trying to vie for power a little bit here. Eviana asks pretty much like, are you arguing enough? Like, what is an appropriate amount of argue, and have you reached that? Unfortunately, when they're trying to question Rhys, they can only question him when the Nullstone is there because he can teleport. So it is something that doesn't affect the God Arcanist, but does affect Eviana, anyone else that is not at that tier. Nicolin, in true Nicolin fashion, says that he can get him to squeal because he will just hold them while he gets into his trousers. And it's just so Nicolin, and it's so perfect, and we'll leave that one alone. Zaxxas ends up threatening Rhys. There are these illusions that form. Zaxxas is finally able to evoke them, but everyone thinks that they're real swords. People are even like, you can evoke swords? That's so cool. And someone's finally like, no, they're illusions. It's not real swords. We do also get this insight. Rhys's mark is distorted. So this has kind of been mentioned a few times. Obviously, Meatbag was a Rizzle, but there seems to be something else going on with Rhys, whether it's because he's such a dread form Arcanist or something else happened, but his mark is not clean the way that it should be. Rhys keeps threatening that the Autarch will come find them. He says that if there's dead, and that they needed the true forms to test the plague on. So he seems to have what everyone's assuming is just trying to take jabs at Volk to get to him, but obviously very concerning that, Rhys is saying these things.
When, not to mention, not only do they have to interrogate him in the Nullstone, but they also have to be actively talking to him in order for Delegus to be able to read his mind in somewhat of a logical manner. So
yeah, he's so all over the place. You can't Delegus can't get a good read on him. He's like, it's gibberish.
That's what my brain looks like. With that, we get into chapter 18, 4 runestones. I like this moment where Volk goes to is walking with Eviana. Volk is walking with Eviana and essentially wants to go and spend time with Terracana because he doesn't really get to spend time with anybody else. Terracana is this massive Eldarin, and not to mention, he's a freaking huge-ass snake. Okay?
Big snake. Very big snake.
Big snake. So, understandable that people don't want to be hanging around him. Volk and Eviana go and spend the night in Terracana's Grove with his dryads. Dryads are all asleep too. Eviana runs off and even goes to get a nice warm blanket for them to cuddle under. And they end up falling asleep here in his grove with Terracana. I love this.
It's so cute.
Zelfrey is the one to wake him up, and clearly he has not slept tonight because he's got bloodshot eyes, bags under him, like all that stuff. And we finally get our list of who all is going to New Nora. So we have Hexa, Vethika, Riker, Karna, and then Liet, and then all for the rest of the guild members, I guess. And again, they're going to go to New Nora, and we are going to bring William along with all the others to go get essentially the last of the god creatures. And within this, we have a bit of a debate about who's going to bond with them, who do we have available. We don't really want somebody else that has an Eldrin to have to sacrifice the Eldrin in order to bond with them. So looking at who is not bonded and who we trust, Bayou's name gets thrown out there.
Really interesting. You're surprised she's old enough.
Right? Like, I mean, she's the sweetest thing ever and we love her.
Give her some god power.
And that she would never feel like she's not enough or would be making too much trouble. So we do have our 4 runestones left over. We have the Corona Phoenix, the Scylla Waters, Tempest Codals, and the Progenitor Behemoth left to get.
In Chapter 19, Wounded, Adelgis reports that Reese seems to be thinking that the Autarch is to the north, and he does truly believe that they tested on true forms. Volk realizes that they need the Salvation Aura. When it comes down to it, that's the thing that's going to save them. So they need to make the giant trek on the giant Sneck across the ocean. Akiva comes over to see him with Orwyn, and she brings up that, like, hey, I'm kind of like the Master of Wind. We can really just, like, fly there if you want. And Akiva wants to come because, although it's only a couple, he does still have an attachment to Basilisk and would like to see the new Basilisk that had risen.
And in Chapter 20, one-way flight. Well, shit. Now we gotta get everybody to trust Orwyn to fly everybody and not kill them. Volk definitely has his work cut out for him, as he is the leader and he's the one that has to convince everybody essentially to trust him, to trust her. Volk is talking with Orwyn, and I think he's just trying to connect and show that she's a more personable person. I feel like Adelgis would have been a good choice to help out with this, because Adelgis is kind of similar. I put them in the same box.
Yes, they fit the social awkward box.
So I feel like Adelgis could have explained things a little bit better, but again, Volk is the leader. He's going to have to be the one to help out. Zor, the Typhon Beast, is upset with Orwyn because she is a child of Luvi, and gonna like write this. I'm gonna start a Google Docs of random thoughts and stories that we need in our next Arcanist tables. This is gonna be a whole another book in itself. Sorry, Shammy. I would like to see not necessarily like an in-depth tree of the children of Balasar, the children of Luvi, but like maybe a map showing where everybody spread to, like the path that they took when they were god creature arcanists. Orwyn accepts that being the outcast, and assures that Adelgis would know if she were going to betray them. My problem with that is it still doesn't mean they're not going to fall.
You just know you're going to fall ahead of time.
Like, Adelgis is going to be like, yeah, we're going to fall now. He would say it so monotone and nonchalant, like most of the people probably wouldn't even notice it, like know what's happening.
Do you guys have a sec? We're about to die. Just give me this.
Now, the absolute amazing image of not only Terracotta, we're watching Zor, we're watching Bjorn, and then all of the other Arcanists getting picked up into the sky. And Fane and Wraith are just bored stiff, like not happy with this whatsoever. They're not even invisible right now because of how scared they are of being picked up into the air by it. Fane would have the same luck that I do, where I would get stuck upside down. Like straight up, just I would be like, all right, fine, I guess this is what it is. And we get this awesome kind of scene of Nicolin kind of swimming through the air and touching Fane to get him to flip around so he's the correct way up again, because Nicolin can manipulate gravity. So thank you, Nicolin, for getting him back to the way he should be. And we are on our way to Fortuna. One last thing, which way is Fortuna again? Because the person that's flying everybody doesn't know.
If you could just point me in like the general direction.
Just keep me on track here, and we'll keep going. And with that ends chapter 20 of this week's episode. Thankfully, we actually do have a bestiary to talk about today. We are going to be going over the Keeper of Corpses. Scott, I think this is one of your... Did you enjoy the Keeper of Corpses, right?
I do like the Keeper of Corpses.
Okay, I will totally throw that to you then.
It's a dead doggy. Incarnated. So the Keeper of Corpses is also that 4.5 tier, so not quite a god creature, but born from one of the god creatures, so sits just above dragons. It's Trial of Worth. The description for this is just amazing. It's, with one exception, he ate anyone who asked, which is pretty much how it went. There is one of the fables that talks about the story of the Trial of Worth, but that's about the one-sentence summary of how it goes. For a description, it is a wolf made of corpses. So when he eats corpses, they repair his body, and any excess corpses that he eats are reborn as ghouls. So very similar to how we see the dryads coming into being with Terrakanna. We see extra ghouls coming into being with the Keeper of Corpses. The true form is unobserved, so no detail there, but we do know from evocation, evokes death, decay, and weakness. It is able to manipulate corpses, so we did see this kind of bringing corpses to life. And then from an augmentation standpoint, it pretty much augments life and death. So it's very much a creature of death. It's very similar to the ghouls. And I just absolutely love the idea of this like stacked corpse doggo that Ezril rides on into battle. So short and sweet, not a ton there, but like I said, there is the full story of the Trial of Worth for the Keeper of Corpses in the Arcanist Fables. So if you haven't read it, go check it out. It is a great story and definitely gives a lot more background into Ezril and some of his disabilities and social awkwardness.
Maybe with our in-between chapters, we can go over it.
I wouldn't be opposed.
You know which one you're going to do. Yeah. All right. And with that ends this week's episode. We just want to remind you, tomorrow, as far as the day that this episode is releasing, tomorrow, Crown Tournament 3 is coming out. Just don't be that guy that puts in spoilers. Make sure you put warnings. And there's a spoiler channel in Discord. So if you're going to talk about the book, put it in the spoiler channel so people can not go in there and read that. Scott, did you have anything else you'd like to add this week?
No, that's it.
All right. We'll catch you guys next week for 21 through 25.